the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which Al, Kate, and all their mates is recorded. Always was, always will be. Hey, I'm Alex Leahy.
And I'm Kate McCarthy.
And you're listening to Al, Kate, and all their mates.
The game, the gig, and everything in between.
Welcome back, Kate McCarthy.
Welcome to you, Alex Leahy.
And welcome to you, to Al, Kate, and all their mates, the game, the gig, and everything in between. However, we have no mates today, but that's not a problem.
It's all right. Our names are in the title, so they must like us.
Exactly, yeah. Thank you for being here. Should we kick off with our favourite and only inaugural segment, Can't Stop, Won't Stop?
Absolutely. Let's get to it.
Do you want me to go first?
Of course.
Okay, so my Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and I don't know how much you're going to bite at this, but there is a game on Switch called Hollow Knight. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting it when I first got my Switch like years ago during the pandemic. Someone told me to get it. And it's this game where you play as this like little bug in this like weird little mask, and you're like going through all these like dungeons and caves, and the map expands, and you've like got this little like thing that you fight with. Anyway, it's very cool. Mm-hmm. The game only cost me like $15, and it turns out that it was made by like a random group of people in Adelaide.
Oh.
Yeah. Really strange. This like little independent game company called Team Cherry.
Yeah.
So they made this game, and it kind of went crazy, like in, I don't know, in this scene kind of thing. And again, you know this, I'm not a huge gamer, but when I get into something, I'm in. Lo and behold, you know, I think a bunch of years later, they released the sequel. Ooh. This game called Silksong, and I am so deep in this game.
Really?
It's so much fun.
What is this one based around?
I mean, it's effectively the same thing, but like, but you're a different character. You're this like female character named Hornet, and she in the previous game was a villain, and now you're playing as her, and she's pretty cool. But I don't know, it's just like this really fun, creative game. And like I said, it's just like a bunch of guys in Adelaide who have made this thing. I've sunk about 40 hours into it so far. I don't know if I'm halfway through yet, but I'm chipping away at it, and I simply cannot stop. And I have to make sure that I do not touch it when I'm in bed, because I will stay up until like 4 a.m. playing
That's how I get. I'm not like a super gamer, but when I do start playing a game, or like kind of with everything in my life, when I get into it, like I'm all in, and it can really affect sleep. It can really affect productivity.
Exactly.
So I do like your self-control in regard to not having it there.
I got to do it. And when I was like away on a riding trip recently, like, I mean, I do think that video games, like when you were riding all day and you're in that environment and using your brain in that way, when you come out of it, like just sitting and kind of like going into smooth brain flow state with your game, it's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, can't stop, won't stop, but learning to manage.
Mine is something that has genuinely changed my life. And I know that game has changed your life as well, so I don't want to diminish that.
We'll compare notes, yeah.
But I have started on a new migraine medication.
Okay, wow.
So I was going through, obviously I had a pretty bad concussion a couple of years ago, and had sort of migraines were a trigger of that, part of the symptoms that I'd experienced. And I'd been going through a whole lot of different medication that I've been trying. And with this migraine medication, you have to fail 3 medications to be able to qualify. So you sort of, the process is a long, long process to get to this point. And then from there, you get to go on either these injections or Botox. And so I tried Botox probably about a year ago, and went through 6 months of that. And that's basically where there's 33 injection sites from your forehead all the way around to your neck, shoulders, and all through your sort of skull around your ears. 33 of those, and you go every 3 months and get those. It was quite painful. I wasn't expecting it to be as painful as it was.
Yeah, I bet.
That the Botox helped a little bit, definitely had improvement with my symptoms for how regularly I was getting migraines. Was still hospitalized after a few interstate travels, which is when sort of it really sets in for me when I get a bad migraine. And then sort of went back and thought, can I try this medication that is called Ajovy, that's an injectable each month?
Yeah.
And went on that. And I think I started that, it probably would have been late 2025. and I have not had a single migraine since starting on that medication. And
unreal.
it has truly been life-changing.
Okay. I have a lot of questions about this because I have to say, like, you know, you and I we've been friends for a very long time, but have obviously been spending a lot of concentrated time together since starting this podcast. And I remember, like, when we first started doing this, you made a note to producer Gigi about how we managed the lighting. Because you were saying that if the lights are too bright for too long, then you're high risk for a migraine. So I guess my first question is, like, how long have you been experiencing concussion symptoms, or is there an acute event that was your first concussion and that sort of started things? Like, walk us through the like how this has been a part of your life.
Yeah, I think, like, I only remember having one concussion when I was playing AFLW. And so I played 7 seasons. I had a lot of sort of head knocks. We've talked through the facial injuries and the nasal fractures and stuff, but I only had one concussion, and that was when I was playing for St Kilda. I got tackled, and I think during the tackle I hit my head quite hard on the ground, and passed all of the concussion tests, went through that. Looking back, I don't know if I felt quite right, but I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, I've hit my head pretty hard. I think I'm okay. Passed all of the scats that you do. So you go in, you talk through whether you've got symptoms, whole list of words, all of these things that are part of the scat 5 it was back then.
So you didn't black out or anything on impact? No.
So I think it's very rare for people to actually black out in a concussion.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. I always thought that it was like you sort of get knocked out.
Yeah, no. So concussion, like, very rare to be actually completely knocked out in a concussion, but they are all so different. Like, there's such a scope, and I can only talk on my experience. And so what happened was there's your doctor and there's an independent doctor at a game. And the independent doctor, I remember this conversation happening between the Saints doctor and the independent doctor while I was in the room, and they were like, look, we've reviewed the footage. She's probably 50-50. Like, we can't really see a whole lot on it, but it's not like clear cut whether she can continue to play or whether we think she should probably sit out the rest of the game and go into protocols. And I was like, I feel all right. And we sort of made the call. It was like, all right, well, you've passed that. You can go back out.
And what are the tests? Is it like how many fingers am I holding up type thing? Like,
it's like a real detailed one where you are given a list of 10 words. You then have to, like, they'll read them out to you. You have to say how many you can remember back, and you get 3 opportunities to do that. And you do all of this at the start of the season. So you have what's called a baseline. So your baseline. So
something to compare to.
Yep. And then within that, there's obviously the cognitive stuff, and then there's the balance stuff. So you walk up and down with, like, one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
You close your eyes, you stand on one foot, and they're all sort of signs of, say you are completely fine in your baseline and then you fail those, you fail your scat, you've got a concussion, you go into the protocols. So I'd passed everything. I went back out onto the field, and then I think it was probably about, like, in the second half, went back out, played the rest of the game. And then probably half an hour after the game, I was like, oh, I'm feeling, like, not great. And then I remember going up to the doctor and was like, I actually really feel quite bad right now. Like, very, like, dizzy, just, like, really foggy in the brain. Like, that's the only way I can kind of explain it.
Yeah.
Just, like, not really able to think clearly. A bit of a headache, but nothing too bad.
Did you feel nauseous?
A little bit, but it was more just like I was in a haze. And then she was like, okay, we're putting you straight. Like, you're in concussion protocols now. It's called, like, that's a delayed concussion really, where your symptoms come on a little bit later.
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, the next 48 hours after that, super sensitive to light, super sensitive to noise, and then came good pretty quick after that.
Yeah.
Did the 12 days. You go through the protocols as you tick things off. So you'll do, like, a low intensity run one day at training, and then you graduate to the next step. And the protocols are very clear with what you can tick off. If you fail one, you stay in that sort of space. That's why it's like you hit this minimum of 12 days. It's a minimum of 12 days when you have a concussion. There is no sort of, the limit does not exist of how long you can be out. So it's how long you take to work back to playing football and passing all of the protocols that you need to.
Yeah.
So that was the one when I was playing. And then 2 years ago I was playing VAFA, and I got a really big knock to the head when I was just getting a ground ball. I got, like, the knee of someone just, like, fair on top of my head. And to be honest, like, same thing kind of happened in the game. Sort of went and chatted to, obviously a little bit less resourced, but chatted to the trainer, felt okay, continued playing, played out the game, and, like, trust me when I say this, I wasn't playing recklessly. I was like, I think I'm okay. Like I know it was a big hit.
Yeah.
But I'm at a level now where I'm like, it's a game of footy.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I think I feel okay. And so after that game, I commentated. I went straight to the MCG and did a game of commentary. I worked that night on a footy show. Then at the same time on the Sunday, I was working at the YJFL. This was when I still had a part-time job and I was doing a lot of the grading that we did. So we went to games of footy, we watched a whole lot. Then we'd meet in the office till really late at night during this period of grading to grade the teams and make sure we get that right, which is a process that uses a lot of brain capacity.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving the office probably like 10:30 p.m. So I'd worked all weekend after receiving a head trauma. And then I remember just driving home and being like, I am exhausted. Like I'm absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
Messaged my boss as soon as I got home and was like, I'm not going to come in tomorrow. Like I'm just really not feeling that great. I think I just need a day.
Yeah.
And he was like, no stress. That's all good. Like, thanks for tonight.
And did you link that to the knock at the time?
No.
You were just like, I've just had a massive day.
I was like, I've had a huge weekend. Like, I just need a minute. And I was like, to Kate, I was like, yep, just going to take the day off tomorrow, not feeling great.
Yeah.
And she was like, no worries. I slept from Sunday to Tuesday.
Oh my God.
I was up for an hour on the Monday. And in that time, I had this immense pressure in my head, like the most pain I've ever had in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like so unwell. I had to take like some of the strongest pain meds that we have at home to get on top of the pounding in my head. And Kate was like, if that doesn't improve it, I'm taking you to the hospital. But yeah, I slept for, I think, 48 hours and was just like not in a good way when I woke up on that Wednesday and was like, I have had a serious concussion. Like I am really, really bad. And I remember Kate was going away for the weekend. She was going back to Adelaide and I was at home on my own and I had to call my mum and was like, Mum, like, can you come down and look after me for the weekend? Because I can't do anything for myself right now. Like there's this pain in my head that won't go away. I'm really dizzy, like was so dizzy constantly and was just like extremely unwell and went to a concussion physio on the Friday and had like an assessment and went through all of the stuff and got some really good sort of stuff to do on the back of it because you're supposed to rest for like 48 hours and then the analogy of like your brain's a muscle, you need to actually start working it. So you need to go for some short walks. You need to do things to challenge your brain. Yeah. Obviously not get your symptoms worse, but you need to be able to step through all of that. And I think I ended up taking like at least a week and a bit off work because my job was basically in front of screens and I wasn't commentating, I wasn't doing anything like that. And then slowly got back to normal life without realizing that the whole time I was so sensitive to light, so sensitive to noise and the environments in which that I work. You have headphones on with your own voice or other people's voice just blaring in your ears. You're concentrating for extremely long periods of time with very little food. You're in studios with lights. And honestly, like the job that I have now is probably the worst environment for migraines or like concussion symptoms, and worked that out a very hard way and was constantly getting migraines. So I ended up keeping like a headache diary because you need to be able to qualify for any of these sort of medications. And I think my headache days were 22 out of 30 for a month and migraines were like more than like one every 2 days.
And these symptoms started after the second concussion.
Yeah. So that was like the one that sort of triggered a whole lot of it.
So So do you think that those symptoms would have happened if you hadn't have had the concussion prior? Like, is this a cumulative thing or do you think this is just like an acute?
It's very individualized. So for me, it was the second one that set this off.
Yeah.
Some people can have 8, 9, 10 and they're in their own individual program, and others, like there's been a footballer that has had one concussion in a preseason and he was medically ruled out of
I have heard about this.
Ever playing AFL again. So it is so individualized. It's so specific. I mean, everyone reacts differently to all different things. Like you think of the scope of how like your medical history compared to mine. Yeah. It's going to be different. And the way that our bodies respond and our brains respond to trauma is very different.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing or the hardest thing for me was how much my vestibular system was disrupted, which is like balance, like traveling, motion, all of that. So when I would fly, I was just so unwell
it,
with
yeah.
like motion sickness. Like there was a point where I couldn't like get trams or trains or Ubers because I'd be so unwell.
Yeah.
And that was all triggered by the concussion and the symptoms that I was experiencing on behalf of that. And so, yeah, like there's been 4 or 5 times where I've ended up in hospital from flying to Adelaide or flying to Sydney for work and haven't been able to get back or have gotten back and just ended up in hospital because I can't keep anything down. I have such a severe migraine that's the only option.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, having this medication has been truly life-changing.
Well, I'm so glad that you found this because yeah, it's like an enormous shift in your quality of life and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, concussion has been an enormous topic like in the AFL and like just like contact sport,
general,
like space
yeah.
in general, like even in NFL, it's a massive thing. How do you like, what do you think about the conversations at the moment and do you like what changes do you think are going to be made like in some of these organizations, AFL specifically perhaps, to mitigate the risk for people who are playing the sport?
I think,
Both at that level and then also like, you know, this concussion that you had was at a VAFL level,
yes.
you know?
Yeah. I think the first sort of piece of advice that I would give around it and when I was in my AFLW career, I thought that like everything was about winning football games and that I probably like if it was all on the line and I was going to be asked whether I had a symptom of this and a symptom of that, knowing it would rule me out of the game, if that was a must-win game in my head, I was saying that I was fine and I was playing. And looking back on that, like there is so much more to life than football.
Yeah.
And you need your brain in such a way that like your quality of life is dependent on it. And for someone that was as naive as I was when I was playing football, my message to people that are playing football now at whatever level is like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like in that sense, like look after yourself. You wouldn't try and push through a torn hamstring. There is no way because you couldn't. And that's the thing that I think concussion has a unique ability. Like you can play when you've got a headache. You can play when you're not feeling quite yourself. You might not play as well as you think, but you can't when you've torn your hamstring. And people would never question going back out on the field with a torn hamstring, but they will question going back out on the field knowing that they're not quite feeling right.
Yeah.
And for me, like knowing what I've gone through for the last 2 years, that is not at all worth it. And winning a football game is nowhere near worth that. And there is so much more to life when you finish playing football that you need to be healthy and well for.
Yeah.
And then with regards to like what the AFL is doing now, like I felt so supported. Like that process of what I just talked through with the St Kilda situation, like there is nothing more my doctor at St Kilda could have done.
Yeah.
To like, I was honest with them. They did all the tests. We knew what was going on. And the minute I had a symptom, I'm in the concussion protocols and I'm ticking off the boxes.
Yeah.
And if I'm communicating that I'm not feeling quite well, we're going through that. Like they have now so much access to information that I think previously people didn't.
Yes.
And I think they are doing everything they can with everything they have to make sure to almost protect athletes from themselves. Because what I just said is we need protecting from ourselves at times because you're in an industry where you think that if I play a bad game, it might be the last game I ever play.
Yeah.
So you need to be protected from that.
Totally. And like, you know, those tests are designed to, well, if you are not fit to play, they are designed to fail, you know, and for good reason because as an athlete, it's like all you want to do is go out and play.
Yep.
You know, it would be like the same if, you know, I was about to play a show and someone came up to me and said, actually, like you can only play if you can pass this test. Like you're doing everything you can to pass it.
Absolutely.
You know, to do the thing that you do.
And to the point where like I've even heard conversations of ex-players that have said, oh, you just got to make sure your baseline's really low so that you can easily pass your baseline. And I think that lack of education around what it can do to you and what like the impact that has, it's like, nah, like that's not the way to be approaching it because we do need protecting from ourselves at times as professional athletes, as musicians, as whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, and I think if there can be more awareness around what can happen if you do get one and if you are sort of really affected by it, it's not worth it.
So what do you think about some of the discussions at the moment surrounding, I guess, like the duty of care of the AFL for both like moving forward but also from a retrospective kind of way.
Yeah, I think retrospectively, like it's really hard to critique what has been done when there is no information. Like the whole thing is you don't know what you don't know. And I think the analogy I like to use is like if someone died in a car accident tragically because they didn't have seatbelts invented, but a seatbelt would have saved their lives.
Yeah.
We can't go back and say, oh, well, if they had a seatbelt, they would have survived. It's like we didn't know then.
Yeah.
Like there was no information available to people to be able to educate them to make better decisions.
Yeah.
So how could players or doctors or clubs protected players when they didn't know? Like,
yeah.
How can you take someone off the field when you don't know that is a concussion to start with?
Yeah.
Like it's just that for me is confusing as to how the AFL is at fault for things they didn't know.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I think the money that they are pouring into making sure that they have the best of the best for the diagnosis of a concussion, I think taking the decision a lot of times out of club doctors' hands, or at least
like
having
an unbiased.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that club doctors are biased at all, no way, but there are pressures at a football club.
Well, I mean, they are biased, like that, like by design. Like you know, that's the job is for them to enable the players to be on the field.
Yes,
like that's the bottom line.
in that regard.
I'm not saying that there's like that they're lying or untrustworthy
agreed.
or anything like
Yes,
that. But there is
employed by the
there
football
is
club.
inherent bias.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get what you mean. And having an independent doctor at those things and having a doctor in the arc that looks over that footage as well, I think that's so important.
Absolutely.
So that there are sort of multiple levels to protecting the player.
Yeah.
And I think as an organisation, the AFL knows how important that conversation is around protecting players, protecting the head and making sure that is at the forefront because, I think that is the most important thing that they can do for their players because it is something that whilst these other injuries can affect them in their career, your head and your brain is something that can affect you for long after your career.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure. So,
And the way that manifests is still so unknown. The mental health ramifications and you know, let alone light sensitivity and the aches and pains of it.
That was the other thing, like post that concussion, the first one that I had, like I could not work out why I was so depressed.
So you had a full, like there were mood symptoms.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was so flat and I couldn't work out why. I was like, why am I so flat? Like I am in a really bad place mentally. Like why? And then I remember a month after that clicking and being like, it's got to be the concussion. Like it's absolutely got to be. And then looking back, I was like, that was the trigger. And then you have these like lowest of lows because your brain has experienced trauma and the way that it responds to it is by doing other things or focusing its energy other places. And then you feel this like, this other people can have a concussion, have absolutely no mental health symptoms whatsoever. For me, I had like really dramatic fall away in my mood and really feeling very, very bad and poor of a day and not being able to sort of work my way out of it. So having to get professional help with that. And obviously being at a football club, it's so well resourced and having the availability to that and having the availability to free psychologists through the AFL Players Association and stuff like that, that is just so important and was so helpful. But I think it's something that people need to be aware of as well when maybe they don't have that many resources around them, that your mood, your ability to feel motivated, all of that is very closely linked clearly with your brain, but sometimes we miss linking those two together, and to be really aware that if you have had head trauma, the symptoms can present in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, this might fall into no dumb questions, do you think that there is a future in which it is mandatory to wear helmets while playing AFL?
I don't think so, in the sense that the research that they've done, I haven't obviously scoured through it, but from my knowledge, the research that they've done, helmets don't do a whole lot to protecting concussion.
Okay.
They're very good for protecting any kind of like facial trauma, like scratches, impact, bleeding, all of that. They have officially, though, the AFL has worked with a helmet company, and they have, I think they're in the process of actually having an AFL endorsed helmet that will be released.
Interesting.
That then has ticked off all of these protocols to maintain that they are of this level. I still don't think that it's going to really be mandated, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the evidence around what research they do and how much that helmet can prevent concussion, because from what I know from previous sort of versions of it, you can't guarantee that wearing a helmet will prevent concussion.
Well, I mean, even in the NFL, like they're, decked out in full protective gear and massive helmets, and they're still the same.
Well, there's
issues.
also that argument and that chat around, do those kind of helmets actually increase the
when you get
concussion?
two of them like clashing together like that.
And also there's this element of feeling protected. Like
you might play more recklessly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like the way that NFL players lead with their head.
Well, yeah, it's like the charge.
It is. And it's like, that is like, whoa.
Imagine if people started doing that. I mean, that you'd be breaking your neck.
Yeah. Like it's
spinal
just wild.
injuries would be like enormous.
The way that they use their head because it has a helmet on, I'm like, whoa, that is reckless.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Any final words on the concussion? Like, I mean, have you got any, I don't know, words of wisdom for people out there who are playing contact sports and putting themselves in these positions? Like, or have found themselves in these positions and are dealing with symptoms?
Yeah, I think just like be really mindful of what can happen if you do sort of have a head knock. And I'm not saying you have to be hyper aware or anything like that or like over the top with it, but just be aware, like if you have had a contest in a game where you've hit your head, like whether you have access to a team doctor or a trainer or whatever it might be, like just be aware that for the next like 24 or 48 hours, like, okay, like kind of what's going on. Oh, if I'm feeling this, maybe I have had a concussion. Maybe that is something I need to like seek some more help with or go into this protocol or whatever it might be. I think just be aware that it can affect you in all different ways. And as I've said a few times, like your brain is so much more important than a football game. Mm-hmm. And that is the bottom line. It does not matter what football game it is. I would give up. I've never won a premiership. I would give up my 2 grand final losses to not have had concussions. I would give that up.
That's a lot, guys. That's a lot.
I'm giving up a lot. But yeah, like nothing is worth what your brain and your health is worth to you for the rest of your life.
Preach. Do you want to play Footy Feud?
Yeah, let's lighten things up a little bit.
Let's do it.
Jeez.
All right. These have been pre-shuffled, so do you want to just take one off the top?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. What we got?
What's your biggest distraction?
Silksong on Switch. That's definitely up there. What else is a distraction to me? The hang. I just love the hang. I love to socialize.
Yeah.
And
that's so important, though.
It's important. I love hanging out. I love my friends.
Yeah.
Especially when I am not on the road and I get to be available. Like, but I don't know if it's a distraction, but like, it certainly like takes up time.
Yeah.
But I think it's a worthwhile investment.
Absolutely.
But like a genuine distraction, probably Silksong on Switch right now. We've come full circle.
Mine would have to be my phone.
Yeah.
Big distraction.
Yeah.
Just like a safety blanket.
I feel like if I stare at my phone too much in that way, I actually start to feel sick.
Yeah.
Like, there's like, it's sort of like, it's like I feel stale or something in a bad way.
Yeah. I think it's just so easy to be distracted by.
I know.
It's designed to distract you.
Well, it is. Like it's, the stuff on it is made to keep you on it.
I need to be better, much better with it.
Oh, yeah. We're doing one more?
Yeah, let's go.
All right,
one more.
come on.
Here you go.
All right. Let's go from the top. What have we got? What's the last thing you Googled?
Oh.
I can tell you what the last thing I Googled was because I was looking at my computer before. I recently made $500 on Facebook Marketplace, cash. I made the deal at the studio the other day when we were painting because I sold an old playback rig to a band called Oh Daisy. I think these guys are called. Go check them out.
Okay.
And they, we did a deal and it was very delightful, 5 stars. But now I'm like, I have $500.
Hey.
So what am I going to spend it on? And there is one piece of equipment that I'm curious about, which is a Roland, I think it's SP-404, which is like a little like sample pad thing.
Oh.
My friend Sarah was using one in the studio recently to sample some drum loops, and it worked really quick and seamlessly, and it sounded great, and it was very fun.
Okay.
And yeah, like I like getting gear that is more tactile because it's so easy to just like be sitting with your guitar and the computer recording music. But when you're actually like playing and feeling things, it's a whole different thing. And I also like the idea that this piece of equipment is very linked to hip hop.
Yeah.
And like I'm kind of have this thing at the moment where I've been thinking a lot about sampling and hip hop production in rock music. And so that was the last thing I Googled. And there is a guy in Thornbury who is asking for $600 for his, but I'm wondering if $500 cash will do the trick.
I think you'll be right.
I mean, I would sell it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so that's me. What about you?
Mine was the drama, the movie that you said.
Oh, yes.
So I was looking into that.
Yeah.
And I think I will go and watch that.
I think you should watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think
will.
it's really good. I think you should watch it with Kate.
Okay.
Two very clever people watching a movie that warrants some like good discussion.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we went to the movies recently, so we're a good year away from our next movie date. So maybe we need to
What
bring
did you
that
see?
forward. We saw The Devil Wears Prada too.
Oh, how was it?
Oh my God, it was so feel good.
I rewatched The Devil Wears Prada 1 recently, and
It
that
was
movie
just-
rocks.
It was just the feel good flick we need. Like I just left there and I was like, yeah, the girls.
Isn't it like there's a lot of like AI stuff in it or
I don't
something?
know. I just watched
you
it for
just
the
had
love,
vibe.
the love
I know
and the
AI is in
lols.
like, aren't they like critical of AI in it or
A
something?
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like it's kind of like the death to the magazine is in there.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, it's quite topical for where I think a magazine firm would be at with where they're at with their production now and how to move forward in the next stage of that. But great film.
Wow.
Very, very easy to watch.
I'm in,
And I go to the movies for the popcorn. So
as we know. Hell yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Al, Kate, and all their mates, the game, the gig, and everything in between. Once again, thank you for being so open and honest about your experiences.
No
I feel like
worries.
we're even closer.
thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
We love you.
We love you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Al, Kate, and all their mates. Remember, new episodes drop every Tuesday, so make sure you like, subscribe, and follow to stay up to date. And make sure you tell your mates so they can become our mates.